Shalom, this is Rabbi Mark Kunis and my Taste of Torah for Parsha Tisa 5781. A few weeks ago I shared with you some Torah from my mentor Rabbi Benjamin Blech about the passage in the Ten Commandments, Poked avon avot al banim al shleshim al rebeim. The usual translation is, "For I am Hashem your God, who visits the sin of the fathers upon the children to the third and fourth generations." This seems to say that if you commit a sin, God will punish you and your kids and their children, even to the third and fourth generations. In this week's Parsha, this passage is repeated as part of God's attributes of mercy. Is it really merciful to punish children for the sins of the fathers? The Torah emphasizes, it is emphatic, fathers shall not be put to death because of their children, and children shall not be put to death because of their fathers. Ish bechet'o yamut. A person should be put to death for their own sins. So how can we understand this passage? I then share with you the approach of Rabbi Shimshon Raphael Hirsch, who pointed out that if you want to know what a word really means, look at its very first usage in the Torah. The first time the word visiting the sins, poked, appears is Vashem pakadet Sarah. The clear meaning is, and God remembered Sarah, who was barren, and blessed her with a child. So this passage doesn't mean visiting the sins of the fathers, but remembering the sins of the fathers. So if a father was abusive, evil, or didn't practice Judaism in the home, God must remember the sins of the parents, the way in which the parents brought the child up as he judges that child. That's why this is part of God's attributes of mercy. I promise that when this passage appeared again in the Torah, as it does in our Torah portion, I would share other approaches. Rashi comments that God punishes the sins of the fathers upon the children, she'ochazin masei avotehem biyadehem, when they hold the deeds of the fathers in their hands. In other words, if one continues on the sinful ways of the fathers, then one gets punished even for their sins. But still, how can one be punished for someone else's sins? The approach that solves this question is the mystical approach. Kabbalah explains this verse in terms of Gilgul Neshamot, or the reincarnation of souls. Does Judaism believe in reincarnation? Absolutely. Let me use a famous illustration from the Megillah of Esther we just read on Purim. Who is the leader of the Jewish people in that story? Mordechai, who according to the Talmud was in a second incarnation. Mordechai had previously lived as Father Jacob. Why did Father Jacob's soul have to return? Because he made a crucial error in his life. He bowed down to his brother Esav 7 times as Esav greeted him with 400 soldiers. What is the great achievement of Mordechai's life? He would not bow down to Haman. Do you understand the principle? He is tested again to see whether in a second incarnation he can purify this stain on his soul. So what does our verse, who visits the sins of the fathers upon the children to the third or fourth generations, really mean? It's not the children who will be punished, but the same soul that has come back again and again, given a chance to correct itself up to 3 or 4 times till it gets it right. Perhaps now we can understand Rashi, who says that one gets punished for the sins of the fathers only when you hold the deed of the fathers in your hands. God will be merciful and wait. But if a soul hasn't changed the 3rd or 4th time it has come to this world, if a soul hasn't learned its lesson, then God will punish that soul for all its sins, even the sins of the previous generations. So my friends, Let's look at our lives now as a wonderful opportunity to get it right, to live the life you were always intended to live. Have a great Shabbat.